I think most of you have already heard about our entity, what we're doing. You can kind of imagine M Group. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about that. That's number one. Number two is going to be about a problem and solution. That's, as you can guess, it's a smart agricultural project. So the problem is the problem with the current traditional agriculture. Number three is going to be the features of this solution, which is called Smart Cost. And number four is about the project details and some news. We have very big news regarding this project. And after that, a quick summary of everything. So about us, I'm really just going to quickly mention what has already been said. We are a management consulting firm, and we specialize in corporate structures, and basically we are corporate fixers. So for any kind of problem that a corporation is facing, whether that's lack of office space ranging to different licensing or incorporation, mergers and acquisitions matters, we do a very wide range of services. And this is exactly what we are doing together with CMMT to ensure that every single project is perfectly structured, up and running. And this we have together with 41 projects. So together we have 41 projects with a total portfolio size of 1.6 billion. And now I would say 50, 60, maybe even more percentage of our attention is focused on smart cost. So I'm going to go over to that, which is today's subject of discussion. Here you will see that there are 5 big problems with farming, with agriculture. Number one is the sun. So you have a total approximate of 8,760 years, whether you're counting for leap years or not, of hours in a year. So this is a fact, this is a mathematical fact. Of this, you can only use about or consider about 1,500 to 3,000 as sunny hours per year, but it has nothing to do with actually usable hours for production. From this, you have less than 1,000 once you factor in cold weather climate conditions and harsh climate weather. So here you can already see that roughly about 10 times the productivity could be improved just by providing a 24/7 farming solution with specialized lights, which we will show you in a second. Number two is about overpopulation and urbanization. So it's not only a problem that we have more and more people to feed, it's also a problem how to get fresh food to these people when in 10 years we're going to have mega cities and super cities, and it will be impossible to basically logistically solve this problem. We have a solution for this as well. Then number three is inefficient farming methods, waste and emission. Here you should simply think about the amount of water, electricity, and waste it takes to effectively operate a greenhouse and to effectively farm. Here we have solutions for this as well. And then number four, this fact might shock you, and it is a fact, you can check it yourself. A single bird can ruin up to 2 kilograms of fruit a day. This has been researched in the Netherlands, which yielded around 200,000 euros of loss per farmer per year. This is an enormous loss. It's approximately 1/4 of the total yield is lost to birds and insects and other intrusive animals. And this is mostly fought with, scarecrows and biological pesticides, which are less and less effective, and of course, incredibly hazardous for the environment. Number five is the human element. Besides requiring a lot of electricity, water, and waste, it also requires a lot of people or skilled enough people to operate machines to effectively run a farm and a greenhouse. Not just that, but when you consider building such a contraption in Africa or India or certain parts of Russia, where the infrastructure is non-existent, then you also have to think about the incredible amount of people, who are willing to do it wrong, who are willing to steal elements of it, who are willing to break in or take over, which is why we also have safety measurements for that. So that's the human element. Here I'm going to quickly jump over this one because it just talks about the solution, but here you can see in a nice grid on the left the 5 issues that we've just listed and our 5 reactions to that. Number one, going from 800 to 1,000 up until the maximum hours, so there are no hours lost. This alone amounts to approximately a 10 times increase in production numbers. Number two, our answer to urbanization is that we can no longer only farm on rural arable land, but you can farm anywhere, even on rooftops, frozen ground, in the middle of the ocean, or in a desert. And for these, we already have use cases all over the world, and also letters of interest for ordering them into most impossible locations. Then to the cost of electricity, water, the waste, the CO2 levels, we have a very beautiful answer. We do not use outside source of electricity, not even water. We do not generate waste, and we do not contribute to CO2 levels. Electricity, some of you might understand, in the form of renewable energy, solar, windmills, etc., which is, yes, we are using, just in a much more advanced way, but I will explain to you later. But as for the water, we have two incredible solutions. One is the atmospheric water generator, which subtracts the humidity from the air, thereby creating microbiologically safe water that is safe for human consumption even. Number two is water desalination devices, which can be placed along the coastline for those farms that are nearby a coastline, and then provide fresh water like that. Since the entire system runs on drones, robotics, and with the help of an AI, the levels of vitamins and CO2 levels are completely measured all the time. This gives us the opportunity to have a perfectly set up, basically laboratory conditioned smart cost, which is the name of the project. And that's how you can achieve even more productivity. Then number four is the 1/4 of the harvest lost due to these pests. This is usually fought with chemicals, which we do not use, and we do not want to use, because we have active damage and loss prevention by way of kinetic energy from the drones, sound waves, and also lasers, which have no environmental effect on the plants or the nature. But are just as effective. Next to this, the system itself is hermetically closed down, so foreign objects, foreign animals cannot access it from the outside. Number five is normally agriculture is an intensive, labor-intensive undertaking. However, with our solution, there's an option for unmanned and automated systems, where basically there's no human interaction in the whole system. The drones fly up and down, the droids, the robots, and also the diodes in the earth that are measuring the soil quality are constantly working 24/7. Oh, and by the way, I said option, so there is an option for it, because imagine a country where unemployment is high and they would like to introduce this for the other benefits, such as the 10, 20 times increased production, but would like to employ the population. That's also possible. We are building a very flexible and infinitely scalable solution that can be placed also in part together. It can be also put together without the unmanned drone solution, if that is the wish of the country. Then real quick about the features of the smart glass. I'm not going to go into details about each of them. That's on always the second page. But you're going to see a big flashy image with some nice words. I'm going to talk about that, and we go to the next image and the next image and so on. So number one, this has already been told, but just for the absolute understanding of everyone, this is infinitely scalable, which means that you can literally build up to thousands and thousands of hectares long plantations. This is 24/7 working, which means that we have very special LED light systems that are growing, and the plants can also be placed on stack on it, top of each other, because the real sunlight doesn't have to reach the lower levels. This also gives us an incredible opportunity, for example, for those from the US, that on the side of skyscrapers, first of all, as a site, as a nice view, but also as a practical solution, we can just make the corner into a smart car, just a very small part, just exactly just the corner. And then imagine that it can house a restaurant that serves gourmet vegetables harvested there. It can be an air freshener because it sucks the CO2 out and creates fresh air. But it can also be a sightseeing, a beauty thing, because it can grow beautiful flowers on the side, also self-sustainingly. Number two, the global deployability of this project is amazing, because we can ship it from Australia to Africa to Siberia, everywhere in the world, which works hand in hand with the third feature, which is climate resistance. Due to the active passive modus of the double glazed smart glass that we use, we have the opportunity to also farm in freezing weather conditions or in the burning sunlight in the desert. And this is all made possible due to highly advanced technology that we put together, and the prototype will be built here in Amsterdam, where you can see and test it yourself. And then we jump over that. Here you have the renewable energy page, which is basically not only solar power. However, real quick about that, the solar receptors and the panels themselves are built into the glass. So there are no ugly panel contraptions on the outside of the building. It's a beautiful, super modern and very chic building that looks like any other nice glass house. I mean, as a house built of glass with a very nice architecture. But you do not see ugly panels anywhere because it's beautifully built into it, and it already serves as a power conductor for the whole system. Next to this, we are also in discussions with the Wind Council, that is the Global Wind Energy Council. You can check it. It's one of the biggest energy councils for wind lobbying. And through to these connections, we can get our hands on a free wind turbine here in Amsterdam. And for our future ventures into other countries where the sunlight is lesser, we're going to employ the help of the wind and also seismic energies and oceanic waves, depending on where we build. For your information, we also have a test case in the Maldives, where we are the agricultural agent for an artificial island that's being built there. So that's a sub-project where smart gas is being utilized already for oceanic farming. Then this might come as an interesting fact for some of you. This is the self-sustainable water supply. Here, basically, the devices that we are using are certified by the World Health Organization. And as I said before, they are microbiologically safe for human consumption. This comes hand in hand with our smart soil, which is basically such grass that you might roll out in one pack like a carpet in front of your house when you move to a new house. If that's how you should imagine it. But this is mineral and vitamin enriched soil that you can then install also in areas where the soil is completely missing. Just as said with the example of the artificial island, there we have to bring the smart soil there, which is not only rich enough to create and produce plants, but also to increase the productivity and the life term of these plants. Then this one is an interesting one. Basically, the complete solution has the ability to be fully automated and unmanned. This means that it can operate 24/7 without stop, without human interaction. We have the most advanced AI working together with Huawei. This is not an understatement. Every single week, I'm going to Brussels because there is a working group put together by Huawei who are giving us engineers and researchers, and we are developing our very own AI for farming capabilities. This can not only do sorting of bad and good apples, but it actively contributes to the whole farming process because we also have automated harvesting and a logistical component to deliver the goods to a warehouse. Now, the last point is very important here, data-driven. Everybody knows that the new oil, the new gold of the world is data. And through our installations, we are amassing a massive amounts of databases, basically not only from farming, so not only from the agricultural industry, but also from flight, from aviation, from data management, from 5G, from solar energies, and all of these sub-principles and sub-divisions of basically smart gas. And that we can combine into a blockchain and data-driven open source database, which we can later also monetize for royalty fees and a steady passive income for the community. Then how you should imagine this is this ultra-modern building. The one that we're building in Amsterdam is not only going to be, by the way, a smart gas on its own, so a unit of smart greenhouse. But since we have our hands on a very large, very expensive land, thanks to one of our investors, we are able to build a large 6 hectare big, that's 60,000 square meters, big tech center and innovation center just outside of the main city. I am actually currently in our offices, which is approximately 5 minutes by car from the north of Amsterdam, where this land is. You're going to see it soon in a map. And there we are going to build our laboratories, but also a testing restaurant where you can test out the food that's being created there, entertainment center and gaming hall, where you can test out our drones, our services, but also since we are a community, we are a network, we're going to organize networking events on the land, and the entire outside of the cusp of the greenhouse can be replaced and retrofitted into one whole big screen. And since they also function as media projectors, there we can also hold events, which I think is very important in the life of a network, of a society. And needless to say, the vision, I don't know if this has been explained before, the vision is to transform the image of the traditional farmer from the muddy gummy boots into a suited gentleman, a businessman who just checks the harvest and the yield of the harvest from the laptop and the iPad, and everything else is completely high technology, and it will become a prestigious and modern industry. Then a little bit about the project details. What's in it for me? What's in it for you? How will this be built up? Here you can see that we work together with a number of large organizations, universities, multinational manufacturing companies, etc. The good thing about these connections, it's not just that once in my career in the past 10 years, I have worked with one or two or three of them, and now I'm trying to mention them. No, the conversation and the collaboration goes so far that most of them have already agreed to participate in our podcast. And we're going to have one of each as an expert to discuss in our weekly upcoming podcast, which I believe is the best form of endorsement, that we let them talk what's interesting for them in SmartCast, why are they supporting it. Next to this, first round big investors. So this is a very premium and selective group. Will have the chance to come with us to a manufacturing site in Spain, where we're going to do, among others, missile testing just for the show, and also robotic and drone testings together with our AI, etc. So there's demo possibility for just the manufacturing side. In approximately 6 to 8 months, the prototype will be built anyway, at which time we will start organizing events there. And then this one is just real quick, very interesting. I'm going to Congo later this week, and there are so-called private-public partnerships, which is what we also have in Congo, which means that we have pre-orders for almost 500 units, which is approximately around 500 million euros to build and install there, and also to maintain later on. And this works in the form of private investors putting down money for the investment for the government. So this is not investors for us, it's investors for the government. And then we get to build this project in large amount, and then the government cedes certain rights, benefits to those private investors, whatever they may be. Next to this, we're also going to scale the project with the help of the European Commission, of which one of the ambassadors is actually a team member. In future podcasts, probably the first one will be with him. He will explain to you why we merged, what was the allure of making a 30,000 member worth think tank, Drone Think Do, under part of M Group, and how is this useful for the future. Then the road to 1 billion. Now this at first was probably an overstatement, and all of a sudden it became an understatement at this point. What we were trying to achieve in the first 6 months is building the prototype, but with the coming of this new land and new technologies, new partnerships, we are basically constantly exceeding our own expectations. And every single week, the whole project and business plan has to be rewritten because we are just growing too fast. But the original plan would have been as follows. By middle of next year, we would scale the company to 50 million, at least this sub-company, this project, with the help of private investors as well as these international organizations. After that, international sales begins, and eventually we would launch our very own UN humanitarian mission, with whom I have very close connections due to my past work. And once that happens, we would become the golden standard for food. We would be able to install thousands of units in tens of countries. We already have more than 10 countries in discussions for this. So the future is bright, because of which there is a very high ROI reserved for first round investors. This will change later on, but you have to imagine that the more units we create, the lesser the essential cost of the unit is, which is why we can improve on the profits as we go on. Then this might be interesting for you to see. We already have a 6 million euro valued land. Now the land itself will gain value incredibly, and that's due to the fact that we got it at a very, very low euro per square meter price. And every surrounding built up land around it costs at least 10 to 20 times more per euro. We're working on the permits and the construction with the municipality of Amsterdam. Once that happens, then just the prototype, that's not the entire smart glass project, that's not even international sales, just the prototype in itself will increase in 10 to 20 times value, which we will also exploit for the better, as we will detach part of this land and build smart homes that are built with the same technology as smart glass, self-sustaining green homes that are able to feed your family. We will build 20 to 40 of them. This is a very large land. And for those, we already have a big investor who was willing to buy them. So that on its own is a very nice exit strategy for shorter term investors, something to look forward to. Then this is a little bit about the unique advantages and the new technologies that we have. I'm going to go clockwise from smart glass and frame. Originally, we're going to order these from the subsidiary of Samsung, that is Samsung Tech. This is responsible for the heavy tech applications like robotic parkings, light frame buildings, constructions, etc. We are ordering the very special glasses not only from them, but we also partially self-develop them here. And this allows us with the active climate control and also filtering the natural light. Next to that, we have 5G by Huawei. We actually have much more together with Huawei, because they were kind enough to set up a weekly returning free workshop. I would like to emphasize that they are freely providing us with all the tools, both in the Amsterdam offices, in the Düsseldorf offices in Germany, and in Brussels in Belgium. Every week we're going to one of the different locations where they're introducing us to local companies that can help us where we miss a certain technology like cloud computing or smaller sub divisions, and then they immediately help us. Then we have the AI, our very own AI, partially developed by Inbright. Through Inbright, we will also acquire a large asset. So not only do we have food and water and the maintenance costs, which we can also monetize, not only do we have 5G, not only do we have fresh air, not only do we have the data component, but now we also have a separate AI component which might be sold separately, and then for royalty or for recurring subscription payments, license fees, etc., we can monetize this as well. That plus, in addition to the smart houses, we have more than 5-6 different channels and avenues that we can achieve with just the same thing, just doing the one thing. And I always like to kill many birds with the same stone. Then we have military positioning system. This one is very important because the walls and the glass are so thick that actual GPS satellite signal doesn't go through. And you can also imagine in areas where there is less of a signal, this might be a problem for the positioning of our drones and droids, which is why we have something called the iPoint system, which is developed by the Belgian military. And this has never been used in a business case before. We will be the very first ones, the very first commercial use of this military technology. And this provides a precision of 0.2 nanoseconds accuracy in the delay of the control, which means that if the drone is flying against your eye with the rotors, the propellers, and you lean forward, the drone will react together with the AI real time without basically any delay. Now, of course, don't try this at home. That's not the goal of this, but it can be very, very useful when you're trying to cultivate rare flowers or sensitive plants. Then with the AR, HoloLight, and Microsoft, we are working on AR and VR technology so that we can establish remote control for our systems. So there are certain areas in the world where there is no elementary education, let alone advanced computer and robotics education, which is why we can also remote control, calibrate, and run these objects tens of thousands of kilometers apart from our headquarters here in Amsterdam. Next to this, we have in-flight wireless charging by this company, Global Energy Transmission, which means full wireless charging for our flying drones. They never have to land. So when we say 24/7 farming, there's also no rest for the wicked. The drones cannot land to charge either. And then a little bit of a summary about this. For those from the US, it might be interesting to hear that Berkeley is a partner on this. They're working together with us. For those not from the US, it might be worth mentioning that it's the 20th or 22nd best university in the world, and they have the most Nobel Prize winners from the students who finished in Berkeley. Next to this, we have one of the biggest military and defense and aeronautics manufacturer, Everest. They are also manufacturers in Spain. The demos and the testings are hosted by them. And we also have Polish developers who are helping with the drones. One of the pictures of the drones was actually our own manufacturing through them. Then a little bit of a reminder about the projects and the LOIs that we already have in place with countries. On this list, there are many other countries. Like I said, I think more than 10 at this point. Every single day, we are on calls 24/7 to acquire more and more countries for this. And basically, not only the success, but also steady profits are ensured once the prototype is built. And yes, just a little bit of a goodbye word, because this was the bulk of it, because we use unique technology to create something truly beautiful for a better tomorrow. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, for me, it's absolutely amazing. And I saw some things on the chat. Most of them was Italian. Thank you for translation. I think Simone was it. Yeah, guys, now it's up to you. What do you think? Me, for myself, I never heard such an amazing thing, and I never had an opportunity like this. Thank you to David, and also a big thank you to Patrick for giving us this opportunity to be a part of something really great and something that can, yeah, change the world. We're already almost talking about some things, and everyone is saying we change the world. We're making it a little bit better, but I think with this, we are actually doing it.